The PlayStation 4 is 10 years old, well, almost. I felt like talking about the PlayStation 4 because I've had this console for almost its entire lifespan and it's been a huge part of my life and of my development as a gamer. However, it released in 2013, in November to be exact, and we have August right now. So I thought, do I wait for the 10th anniversary? And then I realized time is a man-made construct. We don't have to limit ourselves to the actual anniversary to talk about something. So here we are looking at the PlayStation 4, looking at my collection for it. And this video will have two parts. This one will be all about my experience with the PlayStation 4, how I got it, the games I enjoyed, why I got the console, even though I just bought a PS3 right beforehand. And then I also want to talk about the PlayStation 5 and how I think the Nintendo Switch is keeping the PlayStation 4 alive. And then in part number 2, I want to look at my video game collection for the PlayStation 4 and enjoy the journey through the years and just talk about my experiences and which games I really enjoyed in nowadays the last console generation, with PS4 and Xbox Series being the current one. So, as I said, right before I got my PlayStation 4, it must have been November 2013, I actually bought PlayStation 3. Now my thinking behind was I wanted to play a few games on that, namely Metal Gear Solid 4 at that point. But we had a few other games like Akiba's Trip had just arrived and it got a PS4 port later. We'll talk about that in the other video. And I just wanted to play a lot of PS3. And I was an Xbox 360 person throughout the last generation up until I got my PS3. And I had to make the decision, like for the next generation, I was interested, but because the console didn't play PS3 games, I waited on getting a PS4. So I had to make a decision about what console to get for the next generation. And because I really got into Japanese role-playing games and smaller budget things from Japan, the PlayStation 4 was the choice for me. Really on the Xbox One console, there wasn't a lot out that I was interested in. There are a handful of games, but none of them worth buying the console for. So I stuck with the PlayStation 4. I got the second model right here. It released with like a piano black part over here originally, and that got replaced a few months in with these entirely matte designs. So I got that model, and why did I get the console? Well, because the PS3 was on its way out and I wanted a next generation console to play all my games on. But I didn't need the power of the console specifically. There were a few games. I was hoping for the next generation. I wanted a new Mirror's Edge, I wanted a new Shenmue, and I wanted a new Beyond Good and Evil. And I thought if they ever arrive, I need a next generation console to play those. In the end, 2 of those arrived. The third one is still all the way out and turned into an online game. Like, I'm not interested in Beyond Good and Evil 2 anymore, sadly, unless they make some big changes. But we got Shenmue, we got Mirror's Edge, and I want to talk about that in the other video. What I really wanted to get here is I got interested in a lot of indie games and a lot of smaller budget titles that were at home on like Xbox Live Arcade, for example. And with this generation of consoles, and what I really like about this one, we got a lot of physical releases. I'm a physical guy, of smaller budget indie games. And my first game for this was not Killzone, it wasn't whatever, it was Shovel Knight. This was my first and at the time only game I got with the console. So you see, I was not your typical PlayStation 4 buyer at this point, but Shovel Knight was game number 1 for me. I enjoyed this, I really liked this step back to a more traditional style of game in a physical form. We got it on a disc. This was really the reason for me to get a PlayStation 4, because we didn't get stuff like this on the last console generation, and this was really the theme for me, getting all of these smaller games or games that usually wouldn't get a physical release on a disc, and later on the Switch, of course, they went crazy with that. So that's what I got a PS4 for. Shovel Knight. Yeah, I'm probably the only person to get a PS4 for Shovel Knight. Totally didn't use the console's power, but what I realized playing this game, I'm on record saying the PlayStation 2 controller and even worse the PlayStation 3 controller are among my least favorite controllers out there. I got a PlayStation 4 controller in my hand, was skeptical, you know, coming from the other two terrible controllers of the last generations then. And this, no jokes, is a fantastic controller. One of my favorite of all time. They drastically, well not drastically, they overhauled the basic design and the grips are a bit longer. All the sticks and everything are higher up, more comfortable in your hand. The triggers are like kind of whoop, swinging upwards, so your finger doesn't just slip off like on the terrible PlayStation 3 controller where they bent downwards for some reason. My god, that was a terrible design decision. But this controller, one of my favorites, you have the touch screen, which was great because later on they released the PlayStation Vita TV, so you could actually use the touch screen for that. Oh yeah, that was nice, like doing double duty with that second thing. And you have the light over here, which is nice. There are a few games like Tearaway on the PlayStation 4 who take advantage of like all the controller's features. Like if you want to see this controller in action, get Tearaway, which is somewhere in this pile. I'll talk about it in the second video. And yeah, otherwise, like this was often used just as a button to open the menu, and the light never did anything except light up blue as controller number 1 and like telling you if it's charging. Okay, yeah, so not the greatest, and it's the same over and over with the Switch's HD rumble and stuff like that. It just, these controller features never pan out in the end, and nobody cares after all. Like PlayStation 3 at 6 axis, nobody cares. So with the PlayStation 4, over the years, we got a lot of fantastic games. We have a few games like, I will talk about this later on too, Life is Strange, getting a nice complete physical release on the console. Of course, later on we got my 2 dream games, Mirror's Edge, the sequel in Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which is somewhere in here. And for that one I was so excited, I got the big, gigantic, limited edition, 250 euros back in the day. And that was a lot of wasted money because that collector's edition, whoop, down in price in like half a year to 50 euros. I was very disappointed, and I think that was one of the, no pun intended, catalysts, that's not even a pun, it's a reference to the title, catalysts for stepping away from buying collector's editions for a long time. I felt really burned on that one. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, in the end, many people didn't like it. I was a very big fan. I should replay it at this point, but as a big fan of Mirror's Edge, the second one, even though I was disappointed that the open world was only on the rooftops, not a complete open world, I think it was a fun game, great game, controlled well. Never got a sequel. I can do a whole episode about Mirror's Edge. If you're interested, just let me know and I'll do a video about that one. My other dream game finally came true, Shenmue 3. I got the collector's edition here. Of course, I backed it not on Kickstarter because I don't have a credit card. They did, I think, like a PayPal link at one point where I got my hands on the pre-order copy, and that one arrived. So it would have been like a 2-week wait for me to get that copy. And I thought, you know, after, what was it, 18 years, I can't wait another 2 weeks. So I bought the limited edition of Shenmue for the PlayStation 4 to get it day one. This is the collector's edition, not limited edition. And the little light up sign here is still at my bedside table, lighting up the room late at night. Shenmue 3, another great one. Another one a lot of people didn't enjoy, but I think a lot of people complained were those who haven't played Shenmue in quite a long while, because it was very true to the original 2 games to its benefit for me, because I love that. And it felt like a Dreamcast game released in 2019, which is not what a lot of people were looking for. We got a lot of HD releases here. Over here we have Odin Sphere, for example, and a lot of these HD releases were my first time playing those games. We have the Resident Evil HD collections, things like that, and overall we have a lot of definitive editions here. And what we got with this console generation, I think, is not exactly the next level of graphics, but the next level of stability. We got better, more stable resolutions, whereas it was 240p or less on the last generation. A lot of the games, at least those I played, ran smoothly at 1080p and at a smooth 30 FPS. A lot of them, like Shovel Knight for example, doesn't need a lot of power, runs in 60 FPS, whereas on the last console generations we were lucky to get like 20 at times. A lot of late generation games on the 360 and PS3 ran very, very badly, and bad performance was a thing that made its way throughout the entire generation before this, and with this generation we got a lot of stability, I think. Instead of focusing on making everything shinier, prettier, better, we just got higher resolutions, more stable frame rates, and that's what I love this console for. A lot of definitive editions that just make the old games a lot more enjoyable to play in a modern environment. We talked about the controller. Let's see what's next on my point. Oh yeah, the slim model. So like I said, this is the second model. Later they released a slim and a pro model. The slim model we have, that's my main PS4 at the time. My wife had it. When I met her, she already had a PS4 Slim, so I just hijacked that. I installed an SSD into it at this point to make it, well, not faster, but a bit more stable, because no moving parts and all of that. And what I enjoyed is the thought, even though the loading times are not that fast or that much faster than a normal hard drive, you know, they're like 1 or 2 seconds more. If you play a lot of games on a PlayStation 4, that adds up over the years of lifetime saved. That's how I think about it. These small upgrades into everything, you know, they add up in the end. Another thing I should mention is that with this generation we got the mandatory installs, which a lot of people are against. I'm actually a fan of it because it just speeds up the entire generation. And on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, you had to wait for the entire game to install. The big jump for this one was that you could actually start playing the game while it was installing. And for the most part, I never had trouble with that. I have heard some people experiencing, what was it, like the Dragon Age, the new part, when the new Dragon Age came out 10 years ago or so. People were installing it and hitting a wall because the game had not installed fully yet. Of course, later on in its life, the discs were not big enough, so we got a few 2-disc games. This is Final Fantasy VII Remake, comes with an install disc and a play disc, because the data on these Blu-rays, which is, they support dual layer Blu-rays, so 50 gigabytes of data, they needed more like 100 for this one. So they didn't support UHD. This plays Blu-rays. The slim model plays Blu-rays. I think the Pro model has an UHD Blu-ray player in it. I think, I'm not sure actually. I never bought it because I never felt the need for more power in this system. Which brings me into my next point, how the Nintendo Switch, I think, is keeping the PlayStation 4 alive. A lot of people like me, we got the PS4 for, you know, HD ports, definitive editions, small indie titles who don't actually use the entire power of the system. And when the Switch came out, we all stopped playing PS4 and we moved over to the Switch. Like, my Switch collection is a lot bigger than my PS4 collection, even though like when I have it all in front of me, it's actually quite sizable. I didn't know I had that many games for it. Yeah, it's when we moved to the Switch, like everything stood still technologically. It was a step back. But that's enough for a lot of people like me who play these games that, you know, use the Switch's capabilities, but, you know, have a lot of headroom on the PS4. And that's what I think is keeping the PS4 alive even today. They wanted to like cancel production on PS4 in 2021, but I think a lot of people like me are still very happy with having a PS4. This is my next generation console. If I want a good looking, great game, I go to the PS4, not on the Switch. If I want better performance, for example, on my list there's still Sonic Frontiers, which I don't want to play on the Switch, so I want the next generation version, which is the PS4 version for me. So I've held off on getting a PS5 at this point, because all the games I want to play still run rather great on the PS4, and all the games that benefit from being on the PS5, I'm not that interested in. There are a few, you know, there's the, I just finished this. There's the second part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out. But otherwise, it's just PS4 ports. They run a bit of a higher resolution. I don't care. I wear glasses. I don't care about higher resolution too much. Maybe better frame rate. Do games actually run in 120p, 120 FPS at this point? Like when you have games like, for example, Ys 8 and 9 got ported to the PS5. Do they run in 120 FPS? I'm not sure. So yeah, for me the reason to upgrade to a PS5 is not there at the moment, but you know, that may change in the future when the PS4 is no longer supported. We are getting into that, for example, the Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life remake, which is out on Switch. There's no reason not to have it on the PS4. Skip this generation. It's out on Switch, Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, but not on the PS4 or Xbox One. So yeah, this is one of the reasons that are like worth upgrading then when games are no longer coming out on this system, which I don't see happening for the near future, because like I said, I think the Switch is saving this system, because you have a Switch version, why not put it on PS4? There's enough power here to do it. So yeah, that's interesting. Is there anything else to talk about, or should we get into the game collection? Actually, I think I'm pretty much done at this point. Let me actually pull up my list of notes here to see if there's anything else going on. Computer is not starting. Oh yeah, PlayStation 5, we talked about this, that. Okay, I think we are basically done with this part of the history lesson. And if there's anything else I want to add, I'll put it into the second video where I look at my collection. So if you want to see the games I bought on this system and what I played, what I enjoyed or didn't enjoy, check out the next video. I thank you very much for watching. If you're interested, I really want to go through my video game collection, through my console collection, and give my thoughts like this to other systems, like the Xbox 360 is a big one for me, Dreamcast. I can do PlayStation 3 as well. If you're interested in seeing that, me going through the history of consoles a little bit, at least the ones I played and enjoyed, let me know in the comments. What did you think about the PlayStation 4? Did you enjoy this? One little thing I can add is why this one is so important to me is because this is the first home console I bought after I got a job. So after I got out of school, got a job, and could finally afford to buy games. Before that it was okay, buy games used for old consoles, get one every now and then, save up a little bit. This one is where I had the income to just say, oh, Life is Strange is coming out, okay, let me buy that at launch. Oh, I have games like, what is a good one? I don't have a good example here right now. Yeah, I got all of these later. But a lot of these games I just got at launch because I wanted to. You know, I wanted to try new things. I wanted to try Odin Sphere, and I had the money to do it. So this is the first time I really explored like day one buying things. So that's why it's special to me. Why is this console special to you? Why do you like it, dislike it, hate it? Give me the emotions down in the comments. I see you in the next video, and